We're going to call Commissioners Court to order and ask everyone to stand for the prayer and pledge of allegiance. Father, we just ask you to bless us as we consider your business today for this county. I pray for you to bless everyone here in this county as we come through the illness and the pandemic that we've dealt with, and we pray your blessing on the county and its citizens and the business of the county and for the good of all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Face the flag, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Okay. A public speaker? That's just what I was going to ask for. Good morning.
Good morning, Judge.
Okay. Okay. Well, I don't know what order they came in, so I'll take them in the order in my hand. Our public citizens' comments, we have Randy Schultz from Verdi Road. Would you like to speak now?
Let Barbara, please.
Okay. Then this would be Barbara Schultz. So you have 5 minutes, and you know the drill, so I don't need to explain it to you.
All right, thank you. As a resident living on Verdi Road, I have seen no progress on putting a stop to the unlawful storage of tires. It seems that it's business as usual for the landowners at 3365 Verdi Road. The tires continue to smoke, so that means tires are still burning. Recent rain will promote mosquito breeding and seepage of pollutants into the soil. The neighboring landowners, including my husband and myself, are being impacted environmentally, financially, physically, and emotionally. You commissioners would not put up with the tire dump in such close proximity to your home. We don't want it either. We should have the right to a clean and safe place to live in this county. I sincerely hope that you as a commission are actively pursuing a course of action to get rid of this environmental disaster and make sure that the landowners just don't go on to move and force this mess on other citizens.
Thank you very much. Randy?
Morning, gentlemen. I brought you into land, a fertile land, to eat its fruit and rich produce, but you came and defiled my land and made my inheritance detestable. Jeremiah 2:7. All right, this is in regards to the tire fire on 3-6. It's still smoldering. Make no mistake, this was allowed to happen. Every day this continues places the lives of property and lives of property in jeopardy. This is a clear and present danger to the community. My well is still fouled. The irresponsibility, incompetence, and negligence of county officials is astounding. County residents are being poorly served by lack of law enforcement regarding the dumping of tires illegally. I asked to be placed on the docket, but I was denied due to having nothing new to add. Well, the tire dumping continues. That's new. What are y'all gonna do about stopping this? It's just getting worse. From past experience, nothing. Vector control, mosquitoes, we had almost an inch of rain. 5,000 to 6,000 tires is what I'm estimating this pile to be. Can y'all figure what kind of mosquitoes that's gonna breed? Yeah, we had it all last summer. I dealt with it all last summer. Okay, vector control is absolutely imperative. Lawlessness continues unabated. I'm just waiting for another tire fire. I estimate 5,000 to 6,000 tires piled up currently. Yeah, still being brought in all day Saturday. Why won't the laws on the books be enforced? I call for the immediate termination of Commissioner Gillespie, Fire Marshal Garcia, for negligence and dereliction of duty for not stopping this illegal tire dump.
All right. Next, we have Julie Hilberg to speak to agenda item number 9. And then if you want to make any other comments, of course, you have 5 minutes. So you can speak in general to county business and to agenda item 9, which you've mentioned. So please go ahead. Good morning. Here, we'll fix that for you.
Okay, I'm a little short. Thank you. I do believe that there are copies of the election code. I did one for each of you. Do you have it? Yes, you do. All right, good. All right, good morning. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, Judge Hurley.
Good morning.
Good morning. I am here this morning to address agenda item number 9, which is to approve changes in the election precinct boundaries. I have been informed that this change is under section 42.031 of the election code, which states, during March or April of each odd-numbered year, each Commissioner's Court shall determine whether the county election precincts comply with 42.005, 006, and 007 of the election code. And I think that should be on your second page, or third page, section 42.031. So I want to take 5, 6, and 7 and have a look at them in a little bit more detail. Section 42.005 on your first page lists what an election precinct may or may not contain, and you should have that in front of you. For example, each election precinct may only contain 1 commissioner's precinct. It may only contain 1 Senate district. You are being asked under section 42.031 to review the election precincts and make sure that they conform to section 42.005. If all our election precincts only contain 1 commissioner's precinct, 1 Senate district, 1 JP, etc., 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 then it is deemed that the review is successful and no further action is needed. However, if it is deemed that this is not the case and boundaries need to change, then in order to comply with section 42.005, then there are certain rules. However, I think it's pretty safe to say that our precincts have not changed, so section 42.0051 is not applicable. Section 42.006 relates to population and very clearly states that a county election precinct may contain fewer than 50 registered voters, but not more than 5,000. The purpose of this section is to adjust boundaries based on population growth. If our voting precincts do not contain more than 5,000 voters, then the review is successful and no further change is needed. Section 42.007 relates to incorporated and unincorporated territory. Again, if it is found that our precincts are in compliance, no further action is necessary. I am asking the Commissioners to review the election code and make their decisions based on section 42.031, 005, 006, and 007. And I am sure that you will find that there has been no change and our precincts are in compliance. That's the first item. Secondly, prior to countywide voting, our election precincts were connected to their own unique polling location. So each precinct had its own little polling location, and the voters in that precinct voted at that location. The moment we went to countywide voting, that polling location, that unique polling location in the precinct was disconnected, and that precinct then got connected to all our other polling locations for countywide voting. Now, using the unique polling location is a great reference and geographical identifier in a discussion. For example, if I said to you Essex Properties, you immediately know that, oh yeah, that's in the kind of the northwest part of the county, it's in Commissioner Precinct 2, etc., and you know where it is. But Essex Property is not the unique polling location for Box 23. Box 23 has 15 polling locations. So, when we move to countywide voting, as I said, this connection of a unique polling location to one voting box was severed. And all of our voting precincts immediately became connected to all of our 15 polling locations. Thank you. Thank you. When I was notified of the proposed changes, I was informed that certain precincts were to be closed and their polling locations were to be moved. Number one, let me reinforce, no voting precinct has its own polling location. And number two, we have county-wide voting, and I am concerned that if you accept this change, you are undermining county-wide voting. Finally, I am asking that you do not accept any boundary changes. We have redistricting coming up in a few months and a possible change in our population. Let's wait and see what's ahead of us and make changes accordingly to give every voter free and equal opportunity to access the polls and participate in our democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Wayne Vaughn. Wayne's going to speak to agenda item number 9 as well, and of course you have the same rules if you want to speak to any other items during your 5 minutes.
Well, first I want to start off with good morning, gentlemen and clerks. I want to state one thing for the record, that I do appreciate the efforts that you've been making on the COVID vaccine drive to get these people vaccinated, and I appreciate you getting those items out to the population. Now, towards agenda 9, item 9, I defer to Julie's expertise on her knowledge of the election code. I've been new to this, and so I'm still learning that part of the election code, and so her breakdown is pretty accurate on what we said. My concern is that this action was taken, and you know, Judge, you and I talked about this, without notifying us, that you went through and changed this. Now, granted, statistically and legally, you have that authority because that's what's required by the statute. However, when you impacted the polling places, that was one thing. But when you impacted the polling places, you then therefore reduced the number of precinct chairs available to serve on the executive committee for each county party. And that was done without any notification or any input from either party. And I think that was an oversight. I understand that, but I would appreciate in the future that if you're going to conduct some sort of business like this that has to deal with the elections and the election code, that you would at least give us a heads up to let us know that we might have, you know, something to discuss on this and have some input on the decision. And I think that we just need to be very cautious. And you know, I too have talked to the Secretary of State's office and verified that what you have done is statutorily legal and appropriate. My concern is that you have Christine and Charlotte and those areas over there are now being represented by somebody in McCoy. And that means that they really don't have adequate representation for their area, because somebody in McCoy doesn't always necessarily know what's going on in Christine and Charlotte and those outlying areas on that part of the county. So that's my concern, is that we just don't have adequate representation for the voters of the county. And so I want to make sure that we just in the future would please come talk to us and at least give us a heads up that there might be something that would impact on our executive committees and the ability to conduct business in the county. So with that, I yield my time back, but thank you very much for listening. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
You.
All right, we're going to move forward with agenda item number 4. Don Penny and Roger Garcia. Do we have either one of them here? Okay. According to the state website, we had no new cases reported over the weekend for Atascosa County. I also want to announce that starting this morning at 9 a.m., the shot administration by the county through the county. It has been by the county at the Strawberry Festival Association, is being taken over by Texas Department of Emergency Management, and they're switching to Johnson & Johnson this morning, which has been put back on the FDA approval list. And I know that there's many people in the county that have said over and over again, I hear it over and over again, that they want to wait for Johnson & Johnson. Okay, today is your day. First come, first serve, no appointments. Just drive up and get your Johnson & Johnson shot. They're started at 9 a.m. this morning. So anything else we have on that from the commissioners? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Is it just weekdays or is it weekends as well?
You know, that's a good question. Thank you. I don't know what we're going to do past today, so I'm going to ask you to watch the emergency management page, and we'll make an announcement about the weekend. We almost discontinued it. There's been such poor attendance to getting shots last week. I mean, it's just sad. And now, I also want to announce, thank you for bringing that up, I also want to announce that through Friday, actually through Sunday, people received the first shot of Pfizer. And so all of those that received the first shot of Pfizer, you will come back at the date they told you when you got it to get your second shot. It will be administered, and it will happen. But they're switching today because Friday they brought J&J back on the market, and Tatum decided to go to J&J, which I think is a good idea since we have so many people I've heard and seen on Facebook and heard that have told me that they want to wait for the J&J because it's one shot and you're done. And so we're just going to have to see how it goes, see how the turnout is. It was dwindling so badly last week that we probably would have pulled the plug on it if they hadn't opened up J&J. So what the representative from Tatum told me on Sunday when we made this decision, Saturday and Sunday, is that we're just going to try it and see what happens. So please turn out. Please go to the thing. If we do get a better turnout, then we will try to be open Saturday and Sunday. So just watch our emergency management page, and we'll keep you updated. Good question. Any others about this? Okay. We're going to move to agenda item number 5, discuss and take appropriate action concerning the presentation by Chief Appraiser Michelle Bordeaux. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, gentlemen. I can take.
Please do.
I wanted to kind of give y'all an update of where we're looking for 2021 at our value projections, and give you some very preliminary values so that as you start moving into your budget process, you're fully aware of what we're facing in the county. Last year, you saw a little over $400 million decrease in your oil and gas. And I know that was of concern to the court, and the court felt like maybe it was going to rebound this year, and that is not the case. Currently, you have about a 17% decrease, and we're in the process of mailing oil and gas notices this week. That is a projected high for the value that we're at right now. We're looking to lose substantially more value, potentially up to 40% of your oil and gas value for 2021. There's several factors that come into play with that, and I'm kind of concentrating on that first because y'all may have some questions, and then I'll go into our residential values. But on January 1st, we were looking at our starting oil prices were down 18% from $54.43 to $44.72 a barrel for 2021, and we have to start with that price per barrel. The gas prices were up about 26% from $2.49 to $3.13, but there's not enough gas production in Atascosa County to offset the loss in the oil. We were typically seeing about 40 to 50 new leases come on annually with new drilling. We don't have that this year. We're looking at topping out at about 40 new leases, tops. and that's if they were producing on January 1st. So as we started to rebound in 2020 and they did start getting back to work in the Eagle Ford, they may have been in the process of drilling some wells that were not producing on January 1st, so therefore we can't put them on the tax roll. And the other thing is that it's just overall, it's more expensive to drill and operate in the Eagle Ford than it is the Permian Basin. Permian Basin is a lot cheaper to drill in, it's more cost effective, and that's where a lot of the producers are concentrating right now, especially with values down in the oil prices. The primary thing to keep into account or in the front of your mind is that oil and gas are depleting resources. So the minute you drill a well and it comes on and it's cranking out 500 barrels a day, it may drop to 200 the next day, 100 by the end of the month, and by the time the end of the year, it could be producing 50 barrels. So you have a decline, a natural decline to that resource, and as pressure depletes and the wells start to give up everything they have, there's no replacing that. It's not like residential values or commercial values where the market determines it. When the resource is depleted, it's depleted. And so we saw this back in the 80s when everything dropped off, and we're seeing it again. So I just want y'all to keep in mind that that is a depleting resource that we can't count on annually. And it's a very volatile one with the market as well. Are there any questions on that before I move on to your other valuations?
Any questions for Ms. Verdell?
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Now let me tell you a little bit about where we're looking, going toward for 2021 on residential and commercial values. I'm sure you've all heard it. The supply is low and the demand is high for regular vacant land as well as residential homes. So we're seeing a steady increase in the residential market and the vacant land market. There's just, on average, anywhere from 6 to 13% value increase, and it's statewide. We're getting a lot of traffic coming in from San Antonio. People want to get out of the metropolitan areas, move out a little more rural. Our mobile home market is through the roof. It's astounding what people are able to purchase mobile homes for. The financing has lightened up a lot. It used to be really hard to get financing on a mobile home. It's a lot easier now, which has driven the market. Mobile homes have become kind of like the starter home base, what people are going to before they move into a larger, bigger family home. So we've seen a lot of mobile home sales movement. We've got several new mobile home subdivisions in Lytle 476, 281. I mean, just all over the county, you're seeing some pretty sizable mobile home subdivisions that have picked up, and y'all have approved the plats, so you've seen what's coming through. There's not a whole lot of regular stick-built subdivisions being brought online right now, and with the cost of lumber being up about 186%, that might have something to do with it. But that also affects your replacement cost new on your new structures. So when we're looking at existing structures, you're looking at what it would cost to replace that structure if it burnt down on January 1st. That's some of the stuff that we have to take into consideration when we're building our cost indices and valuing the properties. The cost of lumber, plywood, PVC, after the freeze, all those aspects have gone up substantially. So when we're looking at the cost to replace, that has gone up. And then you add the market and the supply and demand on top of that, and you're getting a double whammy this year. Commercial values are very volatile. We sent out mailers to all of our commercial property owners back, I believe it was before the first of the year. We sent it out about November, asking commercial property owners who lease their space to please give us some information. Vacancy and collection losses due to the economy in 2020 with COVID and the shutdowns. We had a okay semi-response. Thank you, Judge Hurley, for sending in your paperwork. But primarily, the commercial properties are represented by property tax agents. They're not going to willingly give us that information until they get that appraisal notice in their hand and they file an appeal. We may or may not get that information at that time. Commercial properties are just kind of all over the board right now. If they had a good existing business that was an essential business that could stay open, they may have been okay. If not, you could stand to lose substantial commercial property value. Our hotels were hit very hard last year. We value them a year in the rears. We look at their 2020 sales tax receipts through the comptroller's office to determine what the income value is on those properties. So you're gonna see some reduction in your hotels and motels, which are a lot of your big hitters. Excuse me. And then on top of that, we had what some people are calling snowpocalypse, snowvid, whatever you want to call it, but that implemented a statewide disaster for the entire state of Texas, and it also implemented a new section of the tax code that was implemented under Senate Bill 2, which is 1135, which put in a disaster exemption for anyone who had improvement damage 15% or greater of the value of that improvement. And I ran some publications, I don't know if you saw it, but it advised the property owners of this, and it could be a swimming pool. Your swimming pool could be valued at $30,000 and it cracked, and the replacement cost to repair that crack is $15,000. That's a 50% economic disaster to that pool that the exemption could apply to. We have not had any applications to date that have come in for that disaster exemption. But again, I expect that we will see quite a few come in when appraisal notices go out and the tax agents file. Now, the deadline specific on that exemption, and it's May 28th, and it's prorated. So it's prorated for a portion of the year. And the other thing with that is that it's not recoverable in your effective tax rate calculation. So the hotel over here that had the major water pipe burst, if they show 50% economic disaster to that building, you could lose 50% right off the top, and you can't gain it back in your effective tax rate calculation. Now, the good thing is it's a one-year exemption. It goes away after this year, so you'll get it back. But it could have an impact on your tax base. As people start applying, as the tax agents start to file their applications, and if they qualify, it can affect your tax base. So I wanted you to be aware of that in case you hadn't seen the information go out in the newspaper on our website. Currently, even with the reduction in the mineral values, you're still looking at about $188 million increase overall in your market value, and about a $16 million increase in your net taxable value. So the judge will get the preliminary estimates on April 30th, which will be a little closer to where we're at, but those numbers change every day. Appraisal roll is a living and breathing document. It goes up and down on a daily basis, so keep that in mind. And we are expecting to have a relatively heavy appeal season because people are still reeling from the economic disaster of COVID-19, some from the winter storm, but overall people are not going to be happy to see their values go up. So we do expect to see a high level of appeal this year because of COVID and the fact that we have such a small staff, and to try and keep our office up and running. Our lobby is open, but our face-to-face meetings are not available. We will handle everything via telephone, email, Zoom, any type of electronic communication like that, so that we can help the property owners answer their questions, take their information, and possibly settle their protests ahead of time. But if not, then we will go into the formal hearing process like we do every year. Again, we're going to do that primarily telephone and Zoom up front. If anybody's requiring to be in person, they have that right, but they'll be scheduled at a later date. All of our ARB members are at risk, and so we try to keep the risk down to them, because if they go down and the ARB is quarantined or anything like that, then it stops our process and slows your tax roll. So we're trying to protect our community, the staff, as well as the overall process But other than that, it's not as bad as it could have been right now, but we're looking at some potential litigation this year with mineral values as well as commercial values and just moving forward. But are there any questions?
I bet there are.
Well, there's a ton. You gave a lot of information. That's great. I'm going to speak with you at your office or something one day if I can, because there's going to be more than what we probably need a care to take up today. But have you got anything?
Yeah, I got a general question. You mentioned the increased activity from people moving from San Antonio, which we all know about. Can you estimate what that increased value was, new buildings going in and new mobile home parks, and how much that increased the value?
Not right off the top of my head, but I could probably run some queries in the background looking at where we were for 2020 versus what we put
Okay,
on for
that would be great. Be helpful.
2021. You know that subdivision out across from you, it's already starting its third phase. And it came in 1 year, and I think there were 75 lots in the first unit, and we're going on phase 3. Same thing, which is same developer on 281, and they're in phase 2, going into phase 3 as well. And then you have the other mobile home subdivision that's closer to I-35 that went in a couple of years ago, La Paloma. That one had 75 to 100 lots, and I mean, it was sold out in a year. So the primary movement is in that Lytle area. Lytle, Somerset is seeing the biggest growth, and then you're seeing a large amount of growth off of Old Pleasanton Road coming in from southern San Antonio.
The problem is those homes, and I'm not knocking them, they just don't hold much of value. So even though they're building, they're coming in, they're coming in like wildflowers, we're just not getting much revenue out of it all.
The mobile homes?
Right.
Yeah, you are.
You are.
Not as
And-
much as a site house.
What was the
Well,
question?
no, well, actually, it's
My
not
question
that different,
is
depending on the size.
values
But
of
no, the
mobile
price
homes.
per square foot is nowhere near what it is on a regular average quality home.
Okay.
But it's still substantially higher, but you're not getting the new builds on the average quality homes either.
Right.
So you're getting the value on the mobile homes, not as much new construction for stick-built homes. And then you've got modulars as well, and we've got some modulars that come in with a mechanics lien at $230,000. So there's value there.
I think we'd be surprised to know what they're getting for some of these brand-new double-wide mobile homes now.
$230,000.
Yeah, well, I think you're looking at $75,000 to $100,000 minimum on some of these.
Smaller
Whereas
ones,
when
yes.
you're old like me, you think of a mobile home being, $15,000 or $20,000. Those days are gone.
They're long gone.
Yeah.
Yes, and the biggest value challenge that we have had in the past several years is the mobile homes. They have eaten us alive on our property value study that the state does, because we're having a hard time keeping up. And they go up every year, and then the property owners say, no, it's depreciable, it's a mobile home. Well, the sales aren't showing that. You've got 1985 mobile homes that are selling on quarter-acre tracts for $230,000, and you wouldn't think that. The land's only worth 30, 35. All the rest of it's in that mobile home. So that's where we're at right now. I'm always available for questions. Give me a call at the office, send me an email. I'll see you at board meetings. We can't talk outside of open meetings, but other than that.
Let me repeat something you were going over that, so the public knows that there is a authorization in the tax code for those businesses that lost business, were closed last year, or others. They have some basis for filing a request to reduce their valuation because of the circumstances.
The way we value commercial property, primarily, if it's not on cost, it's on income. If it's an income producing property, like they have rent, ground rent, the shopping strips. If they can show us their income statement showing the loss, then we do the value off of the income. And 9 times out of 10, looking at last year, it's going to be a reduction in value. If we don't have that data, we have to go off of the cost schedules.
Just for 1 year though.
Right, it's looked at annually.
Yeah.
Yes, we do look at income producing properties annually, and if they stop giving us the income statements, then it goes back to the cost value, which is gonna be that expensive lumber.
Well, I just want to repeat that because even though that may not be the best thing for the county, I do want the public to know that they have that option. And I guess they can call you if they have any questions about it.
Of course.
Okay.
We're available. We're at normal business hours, fully staffed, and have been through the whole pandemic with the exception of a couple of positive cases that shut us down. But we've been working in the background this whole time, so.
And we know that. We know you have been.
And our website, we try to keep it very up to date with current news and information, so please hit our website. You can do property searches there. Any form that you may need is available on that website. If not, we can always email it to you. We'll be happy to email it.
Yeah, you do have a good website. Any other questions for Ms. Bordeaux? We really appreciate you coming here. I know you're busy, and we thank you for coming to update us.
Thank you for
It means a
having
lot.
me.
Thank
And
you.
anytime y'all have any questions, feel free to let me know and I'll come again.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you very much. I don't think there's any action to take on that, so we'll move on unless there's somebody who wants to take action. Number 6 is Audrey Lewis Gossett, who is not here, so I'll read it. Discuss and take appropriate action concerning personnel. New employee Brent Patillo, position Assistant District Attorney, pay rate 75,000.00 annual, 75,000 annual. Salary budget area 047-400-438. Physical drug test is waived. Start date is 04/26/2021.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Perez, second by Commissioner Riley. Discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you. Number 7, Sheriff Sauer, discuss and take appropriate action concerning approving payment to landowners. Good morning, Sheriff. Morning. For property damage during law enforcement pursuit under section 683.015F of Texas Transportation Code. Payment to be made to S&H Outdoors in the amount of $536. See attached. Sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. About 10 years ago, there was a law passed concerning protecting property owners from damages that occur during a police pursuit where a vehicle runs through a fence or so forth. In a nutshell, the law allows that if you have excess funds from the sale of abandoned motor vehicles, you can transfer some of those funds into an account to be used for this, which we did with the auditor's office a little over a year ago. We publicized it in the newspaper and social media, and there hadn't been any claims, so we got a little more aggressive, and deputies are making a point to notify landowners and give them a form when these incidents happen. We have a particular claim here because the law dictates that the Commissioner's Court approve the payment once that is processed by the Sheriff's Office. And we have one from S&H Outdoors. And we're asking that let me check my agenda because I don't see it on here. We're asking that the Commissioners Court approve $536 to S&H Outdoors. We have a supporting affidavit from the owner.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Knowlton,
Second.
second by Commissioner Gillespie. For approval, discussion.
Sheriff, you have on here, I just want for clarification, it's a deer-proof fence. For the record, that'd be the taller fence, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you have on here one roll of net wire, 48 inches. That's a short fence. Is that wire included in this bill?
Yes, it is.
A lot of places, they just double the fence to
They
make it
stack
tall.
on top of each other.
Right, okay.
Correct. And The claim, they put in a claim for $836. We processed it, took a percentage off, and got down to the $536.
Now, is this something that only if our agency is involved, you're gonna be paying, or?
No,
is it
sir.
like-
No, sir. Any, the law says any police pursuit, whether it's sheriff's office, constable, police department, highway patrol, water patrol, as long as it's documented that it was a police pursuit when the damage happened.
Will they share in the cost also, or?
No,
or is it
no, the
just
cost.
out of your?
No, the cost comes from these funds, from
Funds.
excess money from the sale of abandoned motor vehicles.
Anything else? All right. No more discussion. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Number 8, Sheriff Sauer, discuss and take appropriate action concerning personnel.
Yes, sir. On that one too, before you get started, in the salary budget area, there's a mistake.
Yes, sir.
It's supposed to be 012-442-564.
The first one is 012442-564.
Yes.
Okay. So discuss and take appropriate action concerning personnel, existing employee, Irene Quintero, position jail administrative assistant librarian, pay rate 43450.11 annual, $120 month uniform, 40-hour pay program, salary budget area 012442-564, physical drug test not applicable, start date 5/1/2021.
Yes, Ms. Quintero is transferring over from a correction officer position to the jail administrative assistant / librarian position. It's in a different salary budget area, but the same pay.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Perez, second by Commissioner Riley. Discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Existing employee Guy Bruce, position transfer from patrol to corrections officer, pay rate 43750.11 annually, 171 fluctuating pay program, $120 a month uniform, $150 a month holiday pay, salary budget area 012-442-562, physical drug test not applicable, start date 04/22/2021.
Yes, sir. Mr. Bruce is transferring from patrol, the deputy sheriff, to correction officer, effective on, back on the 4/22, and at the salary and benefits stated in the agenda.
Move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Knowlton,
Second.
second by Commissioner Gillespie. Discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you. Existing employee Carlos Contreras, position Deputy Sheriff, Patrol, pay rate Tier 1, 48833.60 annual, salary budget area 012440-410, physical drug test not applicable, start date 5/1/2021.
Yes, sir. Judge, on that one, there is a typo on the agenda. The salary is $48,533.60.
48,533.
Yes, sir. 60.
Okay, so we have a correction to the agenda from 8 to 5, so it'd be 48,533.60. Sorry, Sheriff, I just wanted to read it in the record.
That's correct. Deputy Contreras is being moved up to Tier 1. That's all this is.
Move approval.
Motion by Commissioner Knowlton,
Second.
second by Commissioner Riley. Discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Thank you, motion carries. Shall I read all three of these together?
Yes, sir, you could.
New employee Nathan N. Salazar, position corrections officer, pay rate Tier 2, 41,750.11, 171 hour fluctuating pay program, 90 day county probation, 1 year agency probation, 150 a month holiday pay, $120 a month uniform pay. And the next two employees are all the same identical data, so everything I read will stand except for the name change. Is new employee William R. Dean, corrections officer, new employee Caleb Swing, which is a corrections officer. Motion by Commissioner Riley, second by Commissioner Perez. Did I get all that right, Sheriff?
Yes, sir, and they
All right.
start today.
Good. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. All right, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay, Trent Rowell, discuss and take appropriate action concerning improving changes in election precinct boundary and directing the county judge to sign the same, and for elections administrator to notify the state. And Mr. Rowell, I would like to ask you first to start by addressing our compliance with 42.005 in this. And Ms. Ruppel may want to assist you.
Yes, if you want to help me out, Janice?
This is the one that says that it has to not contain territory for more than one each of the following: Commissioner's Precinct, Justice Precinct, Congressional District, State Representative District, State Senatorial District, or State Board of Education District. Just want to see if we're, in this change, we're complying with
Yeah,
this.
we're in compliance with it. That's,
And you verified that with the Secretary of State?
No, but the problem is the Senate race, which is all in, Commissioner Ford, but they're all together, yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
Commissioner Milton?
Regarding Mr. Vaughn's comments about changes in precinct boxes and chairs. Can you address that? Can somebody?
Well, I asked the Secretary of State, and they said, well, let me find it.
No problem. Email?
Let me find it a second.
And while you're looking for that, I just want to tell the court that the commissioners that Janice pulled from the state the list of, even though it's not our business, political party precinct chairs, and there's no conflicts in any of the changes. In other words, down in South County, to speak specifically, the Republican Party had, out of those 4 or 5 boxes, they have one person, so that one person can swing over and cover the whole district. And I notified each chair of the changes and sent them a list. And the same thing's true of the records we got on the Democrat side. There are no conflicts between the precincts that are being closed and them having to fire or move chairs around. They may just have to say that this chair is going to represent a different number, but it's still in the same area.
So that's my question. It does affect the number of precinct chairs, correct?
It will,
Okay.
It changed it from 24 to 16.
but it doesn't affect, if that's correct on Secretary of State's site, who was elected or appointed, they're all still in there.
So there were no
Changes in the executive.
incumbents in those boxes that disappeared?
No.
Oh, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is that accurate, Wayne?
I'm not sure, I'm trying to find out, but I think there was a conflict between 8 and 23 and the Republican Party. We have two precinct chairs in each one of those, one each one. So I'm still not sure about that.
8 and 23 are up in the Lytle area, correct?
But they're still both open.
There's no changes in the
Okay,
precincts.
that was my question.
There's no changes there, so.
Ms. Hill,
Thank you very much. In effect, what this does, it limits the amount of precinct chairs that we can recruit. Currently, we have 24 precincts, and we can recruit 1 precinct chair per precinct. If you go down to 16, we are then limited by the number of precinct chairs that we can recruit. So, for example, down in Box, Commission Precinct 4, if you put together all those precincts, we're going to have 1 precinct chair to cover an entire geographical area, which is going to be almost impossible. With countywide voting, of course, I don't see why we
Well,
need all these changes.
That's been covered. Yeah. That way it's all covered. But it may be a larger population area, but what they're referring to, just for the public's information, is that in South County, the population is decreasing, not growing. And that the numbers that we added together will actually bring those to a par population-wise, voter registration-wise, with some of the other districts. And it'll make it either. And furthermore, we surveyed other counties our size, and we are behind the curve. There haven't been any eliminations in this county in decades. And I can tell you for a fact that Wilson County has 16. Medina County has less than that. And the trend is doing that. And we're also complying with the authorization in the code to reduce these that are low registration districts. We also looked at the voting, and at each one of these polls, we've had under 100 people vote, sometimes under 50 people vote on election day. Keeping them open is expensive, difficult to find officials to hold them, and going to make it much easier.
So, my specific question, I understand all this. Did any precinct chair, as a result of this, lose their seat? Any incumbent?
I know of. Is that
Are you talking about political or county?
Political?
Well, we
it's-
don't-
It's the same.
No, Senate, that's why we had to do his.
I understand, but it's prescribed by the,
As I said, she pulled what our county chairman, political parties have registered with Secretary of State. She pulled that list. I sent that list out to the party chairs, and I explained to them and listed the precincts that were being combined, and in no case did they have more than one present carded precinct chair in any of the consolidations.
okay. And there were no changes in 8 and 23. Wait a second, Wayne.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, they're both open.
I thought there was an issue, and I haven't looked at the records recently, I wasn't able to find it, but I thought we had appointed a chair for 23 just recently. So it wouldn't be in all of these.
But there were no changes in 23, is what she
No,
said.
I should combine 8 with 23, 8 hasn't become a chair. And so 23 hasn't become a chair, we do have.
Did you combine?
No.
That's
No,
what I
Eight
asked.
hasn't moved.
Yeah.
8 and 23 have not changed.
They're both open.
Well, okay, so what is the combination? Because you're saying that 8 is moving, 8 was that Poteet VFW, now they're moving to Essex.
No, they're not. You got an old paper.
Huh?
You got an old paper. That's what, yeah.
That was all set, right? So,
Yeah, okay.
so if you could email me what the current information is.
I will.
Obviously, we're working from the same set.
So just for the record, 8 and 23 did not change. They didn't move the boundaries.
Correct.
May have moved the voting location, but they didn't move the
And
boundaries.
we're not objecting to the moving of the polling locations. You can consolidate that all the time.
Right.
We're just concerned about the geographic representation.
Okay.
You got people in outlying areas that are being represented by the opposite side of the county, and that's not, we don't think that's really fair.
Yeah.
Go ahead and let her speak.
Yes, if you're not going to repeat yourself, please go forward.
Please remove your mask so we can hear
Yeah,
you.
so we can hear you better. That's
I
fine.
just want to ask, the information that we were given 2 days ago said that 8 and 23 were going to be combined. Do you have to be, and this is the email from Judge Berry.
Yes, he did, you did
So,
get the
can we
first one.
clarify exactly
Let her
what's
finish.
happening?
Is 8 Poteet VFW and 23 Essex?
Yeah, it's got Essex 23 in
Yeah.
there.
Those,
No, it's open. They're both still open.
they're both what?
They're both still open.
We're not petitioning to close either one? Okay. Well, that's a change that I wasn't aware of.
That's from Judge Berry.
Can you come here and for the record, let's just say what we're doing and then that way we're all.
Okay,
talking
it's
about
it,
it.
the ones that are open, gonna be combined, whatever you wanna call it, Campbellton, Jordan, let's see, 6 way down in his area, Black Hill, Bashing, they're all going to McCoy. They have a wonderful location there. And then Christine First Baptist Church is going to Iglesia, because that's Commissioner 3. They have to stay in their commissioner. And then Poteet Junior High is Commissioner 1, and it's going to Lemming.
Yeah.
But that's
But the instructions,
That's okay, that's okay.
the instructions from the Secretary of State are that the county management of what we're doing now, it does not take into consideration the political parties. We take into
Right.
consideration the elections that we administrate here.
Right.
And then the political parties then rearrange their precincts to match what we've done. I'm not trying to be authoritarian, but that is the law.
Well, I'm gonna
And
tell you.
we're trying to be considerate and listen to everybody, but
Right.
this is for the fact that we just cannot administrate 24 polling boxes, and the voter registration is so poor at most of these, I'd say all the ones we're trying to move, that there's just no point in keeping them. And secondarily, there's nothing that stops us from having a polling station there. For example, we're closing Campbellton as a voting precinct, but that doesn't stop us from having a voting station there because we've got countywide voting now. So it really gives us a relief valve in all directions.
Yes, and I'm gonna tell you, since we opened the early voting sites, most people are going to early vote. They do like it.
What percentage do you think is,
I think it was over half.
Yeah, it's 50%.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
and also in that sheet I sent out, it showed how poor the turnout was. We had some concern from Christine because we didn't have a voting box down there. There was concern in a number of directions. So I arranged for the regional transit people to provide free transit from Christine to vote in Jourdanton, both one day each week in early voting and on election day, and City Hall arranged for people to go sign up, and not one person signed up for transportation. And I've spoken to Art again, and in our elections, in our primary next year, and in our fall elections, they are going to do something I think is absolutely marvelous, and they're going to set up a call center and make arrangements to pick people up and take them to voting on a case-by-case basis where they go pick them up at their home. So we're going to further expand. Not only have we expanded early voting to make it easier to vote, countywide voting to make it easier to vote, we're going to try to make arrangements for transportation for anyone that needs to a ride to the polls. And I don't think we can do much more than that.
Did I say?
I have one more.
Yes, sir.
There were two specific issues that were brought up, complaints, whatever you want. One was that we didn't follow the law. You need to answer that. We did.
Yes, we did. We have this authority to go back and every odd year, and it has to be in these particular months, and we have the ability to do that. This would be based on population, not based on having more commissioners in
Okay.
policies 42006, I believe.
And the second part was closing boxes that had precinct chairs. Are you satisfied now that that didn't occur?
If this list is what she's got right here,
Yes,
the
that's
one that
it.
you're going by, then yeah, that's not, the conflict is
Okay,
in place. So
that's-
the only thing I wanted to say on that is, Judge, we're not arguing about the polling places. You can reduce it down to 16, and you've pretty much done that anyway, and we're not objecting to that. We're just concerned about what you're doing to impact our executive committee and our ability to do business, to represent, all the voters in those outlying areas. And so, I mean, I agree that there's not a lot of participation down there, but that's not to say that it might change in the future. So, I mean, we're both trying to proactively grow our areas. And so,
If the past is an indicator of the future, I don't think so, but that's your
I
opinion.
know, but it's worth a shot. So.
I mean, you
All right.
haven't, neither one of you have had representation. Neither parties have had representation down there for a long, long time, except one or two people. It is hard for you to pull your representation out of so few voters, and it's going to be easier for you to fill your spots with this as well.
And I agree with that. It's just that.
And that's just your business, but that's just.
I'm just concerned about McCoy trying to represent that side of the county, and it's just not. It's just the distance. It's 25 miles, or not 25. It's less than that, but it's still quite a distance for them to go from Christine.
I understand that, but do you understand why we didn't move those in for example, with a precinct, why we didn't move 6 or Christine in with a precinct in Jourdanton? You do know why, right?
Yeah, it's part of SB 21.
That's right. We're following the law that you quoted, that Ms. Hilberg quoted to us. We can't do that.
Right now, I'm just saying about the having the representation on being so far from a particular. In other words, if the chairman was elected from McCoy, they wouldn't necessarily know what's going on in Christine and Charlotte. So that's just my concern. That's a political thing. It has nothing to do with the.
But that's why box 6.
But McCoy doesn't have anything to do with Charlotte anyway. Well, no, because Charlotte is.
Christine is, I'm sorry,
two
yeah.
different commissioners.
Yeah, Charlotte is.
Christine, yeah, that's probably right. Well, Christine
Nothing
still
to the
is-
west has been changed.
Yeah.
We're talking about due south and over to the east. And these are extremely fall, such as Fashion and Peggy.
Oh, we'll get it.
Okay.
All right, just clarification primarily.
Yeah, and I wanted to say one other thing. I have the paperwork here that early voting, there was 13,281 voted. Election day was 3,385. So
That's far more than
10,000
50%.
more, almost 10,000.
It's more like 60 to 70%.
I think people really like the early locations out.
Yeah.
I'm hearing from such a scattered area down in South County.
Peggy,
Fashing, Campbellton, like they say, it's so much better, so much easier. That countywide voting, when they come into HEB, do their grocery shopping, then they can vote. That's what they love it. You know, so I'm hearing there's a lot of good.
It's good.
County-wide voting is, you know, we're not objecting to that or anything.
No, I understand.
like that. It's just, you know, it's a political machination and it's one of.
I understand, and I know it's change, and I know people don't like change, but if you'll look at your surrounding counties and talk to your counterparts in the other counties, they're operating with far fewer precincts than you have here.
Right.
In the same situations. And I do realize that this is a funky thing to do with South County, but we have to follow the law, and it has to be that senatorial district.
You know, like I said, we're not objecting to that part of it, it's just that, you know, we're just a little concerned about the distance of some of these people's representation, so.
If we could,
That's my concern, so. I can't speak for you, so.
yeah, I understand.
Anyway, but if he votes on
Okay.
that's all I ask for.
Okay.
Okay, so before we go any further, there was obviously a conflict on which list is correct. I want to know before I make my vote on anything, what are we voting on that's correct? I need it to be read out.
Yeah, because I don't have a copy of it.
No,
either.
we don't have nothing. I mean, we have something, but I don't know if it's the right one or wrong one.
No, I didn't do
Oh,
anything.
okay.
Have we received that last, like you're saying, have we received that last list?
The list of precincts is not, this is different.
If you'll look at this,
We got one, but did we get the correct one?
Yeah, this is shows 24 precincts.
yeah, this will show you on the right-hand side
Okay.
which ones are being closed and
Okay.
where they're being
consolidated.
moved to.
Yeah, down the list, on the right side, it tells you where they're moving.
Yeah. That's the right one.
That's the right one.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, you got it correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And, the only option I can see, and the numbers don't dictate it, but the only option I can see is to split off Hamilton and Christine out of it and put them together as a voting precinct.
You can't.
And that's an option.
It's not.
It's not?
Different commission.
It's a Senate, and
Senate district,
one's
yeah.
his commission, one his voting boxes, and the
Yeah.
other was his voting box. You can't combine the two commissioners.
So where's Christine being, Christine's being combined with,
Iglesias.
in Jordan?
It's either Iglesias
Yeah,
or-
six and Christine are not. So the spread that the Republican county chair is talking about is really from Campbellton over to McCoy, which is what, maybe 10 miles?
Number 6 down there all the way up. to
In Black Hill,
Yes, sir.
So you're talking about,
That's the Senate race that's
Yeah, that's-
different from the rest of the county.
So we're moving from 24 to what, how many?
16.
so Christine and Christine is what, number? Christine's number 14, so that's 14 and 6 are moving to Iglesias,
look at it.
which is Jordan.
Okay.
And Jordan Community Center is in with
Well,
McCoy?
that's 6, way down below Christine. It's really below that.
Yeah, that's a misname because we have, 6 is a stranded box that's been down there for
Right.
decades.
So the community center is not,
It's due south,
Okay.
I'm sorry?
the Jordan Community Center I'm thinking of was right here by the sheriff's department, but I'm just making sure for clarification.
Yes.
That don't sound
6,
very smart.
Well, we had to put 6 up there to vote because that's when it's split.
6 is if you can see this map, is a stranded box that's down here. And it hadn't had any voter poll or representation we know of in decades. And so its designated voting spot for decades has been Jordan Community Center, or Jordan, City of Jordan, wherever it's been.
But it's in that Senate race, so that's why we have
It has to remain in 21.
Yes.
When y'all put it in,
It has to remain in 21, just as Christine does.
That's okay, you clarified it. I would just, the name of it, Jordan Community Center, didn't make sense if it's way down there,
Yeah,
so
that'd be-
that's, you cleared it up.
That's why I was trying to explain, yes, it's a confusing name for it, but there's not really a name for it. It's just a stranded box that's been there for decades. We're trying to clean that up too. And you had,
it seems silly that the Jordan Community Center is for Commissioner Ford. It's right in the middle of Jordan.
Yep. What's this
Yeah.
Horace Finch Center? Where's
on,
That's in Lago.
Lado? They go into McCoy? Did I miss?
You're down
I'm sorry.
there. Fashion, you got that, go to fashion number 11.
Yep, Fashy, okay.
you're showing on your chart, number 6 is moving to McCoy.
It has to because of the Senate race.
6,
Yes.
okay, but not Christine?
Christine's in Lansing.
Christine is.
Precinct 3.
Okay.
City.
Now, I admit that is strange. I admit, yeah, that is strange. That is a long way for them, but then they've never had any representation yet, anyway. And we had 6 people vote on election day from that spot. So it's not many people live down there.
38.
Yeah, it is strange because of the split on this county on senatorial districts. Maybe when they redistrict, we'll have one senator district again and it'll be
Maybe.
easier. But that's not our choice. State does that and they don't care what we think. Anything else? Okay, so we have this item on for action, so do we wish to take any action?
I move we approve the boundary changes and direct the judge to sign the same.
Motion by Commissioner Knowlton,
Second.
second by Commissioner Perez. Discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you. I do want to say, though, that also time is of the essence on this. This is the time that we have to get this done or we lose the chance. And it has to be done in odd years, as it said in the election code.
9 years unless you have extraordinary circumstances.
Judge, is there any way on this topic of just that right there that I could ask that this is brought to attention to the commissioners prior in advance than what we've been getting it? That's a lot of studying I feel that we need to take on if we're gonna be the ones voting on this, to have it sprung on us the same day of. I would like to either be involved on a committee myself or just have the attention brought to us more so than just brought to us the day of and try to figure out what we've got here. I'm just saying, I don't myself feel comfortable with having to make a kind of off the limb decision here. I want to maybe be more educated in this for all parties.
I think it's a really good point, and also hindsight shows me that we probably should have had a public hearing on this, which we basically just sort of had. But that's why we relax the rules a lot, so people could just speak and say what they wanted. But yes, we probably should, there's more that we could have done. This is a new thing for us. Like I said, it hadn't been done in years,
Sure.
if it ever has been done.
And you basically had 2 months to do it. is what
Yeah,
the
and
problem
this is a tight window we have to get it done in. But we did bring it up in Commissioners Court last meeting
Yes, we did.
and again today. All right, we move on to agenda item number 10, Trent Rowell, discuss and take action concerning executing the agreement for firefighting between Atascosa County and Jordan Volunteer Fire Department, approved by the County Attorney's Office.
Yes, I reviewed the contract.
Sir?
I said I reviewed the contract. It's good, ready to execute. Roger just couldn't be here today, but he's worked with them on that and they're ready to go.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gillespie,
Second.
second by Commissioner Knowlton. Discussion. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Number 11, Commissioner Knowlton, discuss and take appropriate action concerning creating a single permit office for Atascosa County. Commissioner Knowlton.
Yes, thank you. In dealing with both the fire marshal and the animal control facility, it occurred to me that we're causing our citizens to go to two different locations to get permits. And my opinion is we should put that into one location. I don't know how, I understand it used to be that way, and I don't know how it got changed, but
Well, we need to have this is a point for discussion, so I think all the commissioners should get involved in it.
I agree, but I don't think we're serving our citizens well by having them go different directions.
Well, the history is that we had the sanitation permitting office separated, and the feeling was that it was not justified to have a full-time secretary and a full-time person dedicated to doing that job. So we moved that person, Commissioners Court moved that person over to the to office and the secretary, because that gave us a secretary for the emergency management office and fire marshal. We moved, which was Ann, and we moved Ann over to the old fire station, and she answers the phone to the receptionist for, at that time was 911, emergency manager, fire marshal, and then we moved the office for the sanitation permitting to, which had been Rex Newman, over to that area. Then the decision was made later to move Rex underneath Chief Dominguez at Animal Control, and he's been there since then. And also since then, we've asked Rex to get certified as a health officer so we could have someone that could inspect restaurants in the county. And we're not worried about the cities, that's their business. But at this point, it would not be a big job, just a rare occasion where we have health permit needs for food service or that sort of thing in the county. And so he would be certified. He's finishing that up, so he should have two things he's been doing. And then, as you know, we've got the fire marshal for fire permitting and the emergency management office. So go ahead. So that's the history, a short history.
Yeah. So the workload is definitely increased, as you heard from the chief appraiser. The septic inspections are going ballistic. My only thought on this was to consolidate all permitting and licensing under one roof, because we're sending people different directions.
Recently went to the TAG ITM conference in Austin last week, and there's some companies, software applications, where you can input all your forms, make them digital, make them easier to access in one spot for the public that we can look into. And that could include forms for like the county clerk to put in there as well, for birth certificates, death certificates, all that stuff. It can be all in one software platform that's available to our citizens, all in one spot, one-stop shop. So it's something we can look into, definitely. Rather than opening a permit office, we can use software to handle that for us. Okay. So I'll look into that more.
Yep.
Okay?
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
At this point, I think it's just discussion.
Okay, no action?
No action.
I think it's got some merit to consider for efficiency. For example, Rex still has to bring his reports over to Ann at another building to have them typed.
Yep.
And there's some merit to that idea for efficiency. I don't know that that's that big a deal, but I personally don't really want to move Ann out of the old jail. That being a receptionist and having somewhere to answer the phone there 5 days a week, I think has been so helpful to the public and to service over there. Because I was specifically asked, after Rex moved over to office of Animal Control and work for Chief Dominguez, as was ordered by Commissioner's Court, to move Ann, and I said no. No, we need her there, and the few reports that Rex has to have done, he can email to her or drop by her office. So, but that's, if you,
Long-term.
court chooses to change that, that's fine too. I'm just saying what's going on.
Long-term, what Justin just brought up might be a much better solution. That way the functions can be wherever they need to be, but, or wherever is convenient for us, but right now, we don't have one-stop shopping.
Would you consider a motion to request Justin to get that information and bring it back to us?
I'd be happy to make that
Thank you.
motion. I move that Justin just go research this and come back.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Riley. Discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you. Number 12, Commissioner Perez, discuss and take appropriate action concerning personnel. Should I read them all, Commissioner? or-
Yes, sir.
Okay. Existing employee Justin Kidd, position precinct 3 road crew, pay rate 40827.62. Sorry, budget area 023 400-402. Physical drug test not applicable. Start date 05/01/2021. And the other two are all the same data exactly, except for the name. So the second name is Martin Castillo, and the third name is Larry May. Commissioner Perez.
Thank you, Judge. These three gentlemen are employees of Precinct 3. They've completed their probation period, and I'd like to move them up to the next step at $40,827.62. And it's to come out of salary budget area 023-400-402, and starting date would be May the 1st of 2021.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Perez, second by Commissioner Melton. Discussion. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Number 13, Commissioner Riley, discuss and take appropriate action to accept and allow the trade-in of the following: 1991 CPST belly dump TRL VIN 1C9111420MP 389247 to Peak Trailer Group for a trade-in value of $2,500. 1991 Ford truck tractor VIN 1FDYU 90X5MVA27708 to Santex Idea lease for a trade-in value of $1,500 for a grand total of $4,000. Commissioner Riley.
Yes, so I'd like to move these two vehicles out. There's too much cost in maintenance and rebuild. Trade these in on a new unit. So,
I got a question. It says trade in for what?
okay, the,
Was that a motion
sure,
to do that? So we need a second before we have discussion.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gillespie. Commissioner Knowlton asked you what that was for.
okay. The 2,500 is on the trailer to Peak, and the 1,500 is on the truck to Santex.
But what are you trading them in
I'm
for?
trading them in on some 2014 Peterbilt truck and a new Peak low profile trailer.
Just a question, it wouldn't be more appropriate to have what you're doing listed in the motion?
Well,
Ms. Ferrero?
He's purchasing, he is using his budget, it's less than 50,000. It didn't need to be listed. I understand, I mean, he's trading.
Well, yeah,
in.
okay, now he's explained it, okay.
Yes, so to trade in a unit, any piece of county equipment has to be approved by Commissioner's Court, regardless of what the backside of the transaction is. So that's why those two are on here and not the purchase of his equipment.
So you're saying that if it's under 50,000, he doesn't need Commissioner's Court approval to purchase it?
If it comes out of his budget.
Comes out of his budget,
It's
okay.
not, it's not coming out of Fund 20, so it doesn't.
Got it.
Right, if it's Fund 20, then court has to.
Thank you, you just caused us to learn something. Me, anyway.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Number 14, Commissioner Riley, discuss and take appropriate action concerning personnel. Existing employee Lee Holly, Position Precinct 4 Worker, pay rate 4164804, salary budget area 024-400-402, physical drug test not applicable, start date 5/01/2021. Commissioner Riley.
Yes, this Lee Holly's completed his 90-day probation, and I would move him up to not a full tier, split a tier on this, but I move that we approve this.
A second.
You got a motion in a second.
Motion and a second, motion by Commissioner Riley, second by Commissioner Knowlton.
Commissioner Perez seconded it.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I was reading the next agenda item, and my mind is not able to handle two things at one time sometimes.
I have that.
Thank you very much for the help. All right, we have motion and second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Number 15 is discuss and take appropriate action concerning extending the declaration of local state of disaster signed last week. So what I'd like to do is tell you first that it's not critical nor necessary unless it's the will of the court to extend this declaration. I did this declaration because I have the authority to do it, and I was requested to do it by Judge Shahan of Kinney County. And he and the sheriff both called me, and they called about 24 other counties, and they say that things are really going bad there, that they have.
So how long do you do it for? Can you do it?
7 days. And,
Sheriff, what do you think?
Anyway, to finish.
I'm sorry.
Is this okay if I finish?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize.
I don't mind if you want to go to the sheriff. It's okay with me. I'm pretty easy.
Get you involved.
So, my guide in this, and I issued an amended declaration because the first one I copied Judge Shahan's, and it had some data in there, or some allegations about crime in Atascosa County that I really didn't research and document. So I wanted to err on the side of accuracy, so I changed several of the comments about Atascosa County to South Texas, because in my conversation with Judge Shahan and the sheriff of Kinney County on speakerphone, they convinced me they have a terrible problem. They convinced me that they're extremely alarmed, and their neighboring counties are extremely alarmed. And this was a show of solidarity with Kinney County. He wanted this sent to him so he could gather all the declarations and go to his state representatives, to the governor, and to the federal authorities. Now I'm done, Commissioner Knowlton. Sorry.
It's all right.
So that's the reason I did it, and it's not even necessary that it be extended, because for my purpose was to support Judge Shahan in King County.
The reason I asked the sheriff, and I'm sorry, I apologize for jumping ahead.
That's all right.
Sheriff Soward issued a letter to Congressman Cuellar, which kind of mirrors this a little bit, and I'm inclined, if based on what he's written, that we need to extend this.
And I'm okay with that too.
My personal experience is these things are going on. I've talked to sheriffs in neighboring counties to the south and to the west of us. We're fortunate that much of what they're dealing with has not quite made it here yet. We're seeing a little bit of activity, but with that trend, I think it will come. And I think declaration is probably a good idea.
Okay. And how long can we extend it for? 30 days? You know?
You can extend it as long as you want. I would not recommend more than 6 months, but I think 90 days, 30 to 90 days is a good number, because we can always come back and do it again. But it's your pleasure.
90 days. I move we extend it 90 days.
A motion by Commissioner Knowlton to extend the declaration by 90 days, second by Commissioner Riley. I do want to say that one of the reasons I immediately jumped to amend it is because I no longer take, and I don't mind saying this publicly, I no longer take interviews with San Antonio media. I don't do it anymore. And within hours of doing this, they started calling Kinney County and other counties, and they started calling my office wanting it, and I went back and I reread it, and I went, I can't really document that this has become this bad as it's saying, because I copied Judge Shahan's order in Atascosa County. So I wanted to err on the side of accuracy so that if it does make the press, that we are doing the right thing. If it gets worse, then we'll amend that, and we'll base that on what our sheriff tells us, not what we think. And so I was just trying to be accurate and not salacious. And the San Antonio meet is going to jump on this and make it salacious, and I don't want Atascosa County caught in the crosshairs. That was my only purpose. But we have a motion and a second. I fully concur, and I think it's a great idea. So all those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Sheriff, and thank you for your letter you wrote. If anybody doesn't know, it's on Facebook, and it's a good letter. Sent it to Congressman Cuellar, I believe? Yes, sir. Good. Okay, number 16, discuss and take appropriate action concerning personnel. New employee, Angela Maldonado, position part-time tech share clerk, pay rate $9.62 per hour, salary budget area 012-434-834, physical drug test not applicable, start date 04/07/2021. The situation on this is and I think I've kept you informed on it, is that we lost our tech share clerk. The tech share program is the indigent attorney, the indigent defense representation. And we put that program into place about 4 years ago, and it was a grant from Texas Indigent Defense Commission, and we hired a person. Her name was Molly, and she worked over here in the Justice Center, and every time there was a need for an indigent defense counsel, it's called a wheel. The old system was called a wheel. So the wheel in this software would roll up the next attorney out of fairness to attorneys that wanted to be called up. So when we went to the public defender program, one of the conditions is that Molly's job was going to be significantly impaired, if not done away with, the tech share job. So they hired her, so that job was vacant. And we found out that the transition time for the PD office has been longer than necessary. So we need this tech share thing manned. So Judge Jackson and the original deal was this was split between Wilson County and Atascosa County 50-50. Doesn't apply to any other counties in the district, just our two. And of course, we're the two biggest ones in the 5-county court district, but this also applies to misdemeanor court for county court. It applies to Judge Rendell's court, county court at law, any of his courts, criminal courts he's doing, and doesn't apply to any, well, it does apply to mine in juvenile court, they appoint. We have made a decision after consulting with Judge Jackson, and I have, after consulting with Judge Wilson with the judicial district, that we're going to hire a part-time person and train them to run the TechShare software, not knowing what the future is going to bring. There is a need for this, but we don't know what it's going to be like when the PD office comes 100% online. They're about 75% online now. So when they come 100% online, what TIDC is telling us, TIDC wants us to keep it. But now the grants run out, so we're paying for it 100%. The software each year costs about between $4,000 and $5,000, and then we were paying for a full-time employee. So our strategy is, Judge Jackson's and mine is that we're going to pay for this part-time employee. We're going to split them, and but I wanted this person to be supervised. Molly did a good job, and there's nothing to impugn her job, but I really wanted this person supervised. We set Molly up, and she didn't have a supervisor. And so what's going to happen is that Judge Jackson's court coordinator and administrative assistant, Genevieve, is going to be the supervisor, and they've got an office in the Wilson County Courthouse. They're going to provide the office, and they've got a part-time person that we're hiring here. And we're going to pay one check out of Atascosa County and one check out of Wilson County. And this cost should be minimal. We have the budget, Molly's budget, is still in the budget for this year, and it hadn't been spent at all. And so we've got more than enough money to fund a part-time person, and a part-time person can't work more than 30 hours anyway. I frankly see this person doing maybe 10 to 15 hours a month. I think it's going to get so small. What TIDC and what PD office has told us, that we have to appoint an attorney when there's a conflict. I'm sorry to be so wordy, but I want you to have the whole picture. Why do we still need it if we got the PD office? Because if there is an indigent person that's in a crime, and they've got a wife in it, or they've got a family member, or they've got even a non-related person in it, and there's two people to be represented in the same crime, the PD attorney, public defender attorney, cannot represent both of them. So then we're going to have to come up and pay the cost out of our budget for that second attorney, and that's where this will come in. Then this indigent defense software will appoint somebody, and that'll be covered. And they think that that's going to be rare, and they think that that could be maybe, we don't know. We think it could be as little as 8 to 10 appointments a year. Once PD is up to 100%, public defender's up to 100%. But we don't know, and that's why we wanted to, Judge Jackson and I wanted to give this 6 months, see where we are when PD gets up to 100%. And I hate to keep using PD, it sounds like police department, but the public defender is up to 100%, and then get some experience and see what happens. We had some, and just the last thing to say is, a few years ago we had some homicide cases that were like this, and we actually had multiple public defenders for multiple defendants that carried on for 6 months to a year, and it ran into quite a bit of money. So it can happen, and we can go some years without much at all. So it's just the luck of the draw. So I'm asking you to approve this. I believe Wilson County's already approved it, and we'll keep an eye on it and watch the money and try to spend as little as possible. But it should be far less than what we have budgeted right now.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Gillespie, second by Commissioner Riley. Discussion or questions? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Discuss, review, and take action to accept and approve any invoices and payroll. No payroll, no live checks, just the bills that have already been signed. So we just need a motion to approve that.
I make a motion to accept and approve all invoices.
Motion by Commissioner Perez to approve the bills.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gillespie. Discussion, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries. 18, there are no reports in this meeting of the month, so we'll skip number 18. Number 19 is comments from commissioners. Court, and is there anyone that has anything they'd like to say at this time? Announcements, anything? Nothing? This next regular Commissioners Court meeting is set for Monday, May 10th. We are adjourned. Thank everyone very much for your time and patience.